have a Mamdani story. We haven't checked in on the campaign in a while, but it is getting close. And Mamdani's multitudinous rich billionaire enemies are getting really, really, really frustrated because the betting odds are 87% Mamdani, 13% Cuomo. This is the Kalshi betting site. Put this up on a billboard, put this out. It went pretty viral, this clip. Now, libs of TikTok runs down all the horrible things that Mamdani mostly couldn't do if he wanted to. Defund the police. He's explicitly not running on defund the police. Release all the criminals from prison. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. It's going to be like busting into Arkham Asylum there. He's just going to let everybody out. Disarm law-abiding citizens. Jackass. It is almost impossible to get a gun in New York City. This is not Louisiana. You can't. Nobody has a gun here. I've never known anybody who had a handgun here who was not a law enforcement professional or a criminal.
Right.
I've known some people who had them illegally. I've never known anyone who had a legal handgun who was not a cop or a professional security person. There's no one to disarm, except criminals, which I assume you would agree with, right? Seize your property. Yeah, no, it's gonna be like Dr. Zhivago. They're gonna come on the train and take everybody's property. Free child mutilation. Well, you got him there, man. We did a whole segment on that. I don't understand.
Oh, he's for circumcision?
Marriage. He is. He is. Oh. And we have come out very strongly against that. I had mine glued back on. Fortunately, my mother kept it in a book, so I was able to have it reattached. Ban ice.
It was pickled. It was in liquid. It was preserved.
Yes. Ban ICE. Yeah, I mean, I would want him to do that. It's federal. He can't do that. He can not cooperate with them, but, I mean, he wouldn't be the first. Higher taxes on white people. All right, so he said something that was kind of ill-advised, but, of course, he has no plan to put higher taxes on white people. Even if you did have a plan like that, you wouldn't get that through the first court challenge. You can't put higher taxes on a racial group. So, yeah. But, hey, the reason I wanted to include this is it's very instructive in the role and function that these influencers like Libs of TikTok play for people like Bill Ackman. It's not about any of this. It's that Libs of TikTok knows they can't run down a list, cheaper groceries, free buses. They've tried that on like Fox. And people are like, well, that sounds pretty good.
Right, yeah, right.
So they got to hit you with these deranged culture war appeals.
Chop meat for less than $12 a pound.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God, he's got the socialist is going to make my groceries cheaper. They can't say that. So they got to give you all these culture war provocations. Matt Von Swall, I don't understand why no one is panicking about this. America is about to have a full-blown communist running the financial capital of the world. New York City, what happened to you? All right, so first of all, it being the financial capital of the world is neither here nor there. The stock market is federal. Like, what do you, as the mayor of New York City, he has absolutely no say at all in how the stock market is run, regulated, operates, or anything. Although we always want to be fair on the show, he did just appoint this guy as his financial advisor. Yeah. So there may be something to be concerned about. I understand he caused a lot of trouble at Gotham. That's where he found him, but
no, he's masking. He's looking out for the people around him. He's protecting the health of the people in the background. That's the thing.
That was even before the pandemic.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He was kind of ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Maybe you should put him in charge of the health department. So why is Mamdani burying Cuomo even with Adams out of the race? This is a tale of two ads here. I think these two ads will give you a pretty good idea. Here's Cuomo's ad that dropped at the beginning of October.
And I could pretend to do a lot of jobs. Cuomo. And I could pretend to do a lot of jobs. But I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I do know how to make government work. I'll hire 5,000 new cops to partner with local community groups and keep...
I'll molest your sister backstage and then demand her gynecological records when she sues me.
Our family's safe, and we'll get the homeless off the streets and into the help they desperately need. There are a lot of jobs I can't do, but I'm ready to be your mayor on day one.
All right, so Mamdani has definitely got a Twitter game. In a city of world-class artists and production crew hunting for the next gig, Andrew Cuomo made a TV ad the same way he wrote his housing policy, with AI. Then again, maybe a fake Cuomo is better than the real one. Ooh, mic drop. And that's real. He used AI for his housing policy, they found, by tracing it back. And here's Mamdani's ad. Very clever, very lighthearted. He got veterans of the TV show Survivor to mock vote Cuomo off the island.
New Yorkers want a mayor who will make groceries and childcare affordable, not sell us out to their billionaire donors.
A mayor that'll make buses fast and free, not defund the MTA.
Andrew, you're scheming with Donald Trump.
We're voting you off the island
And back to the suburbs.
We're with Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani. He'll stand up to Trump, freeze the rent, and deliver universal childcare.
We're gonna build a city where no one has to struggle to survive.
Paid for by Zoran for NYC.
Didn't we already vote you out?
All right, so which one of those ads do you think went viral and was largely received positively, and which one was mocked by everyone who saw it? So this is, a lot of this segment we're getting into, we have issues with Mamdani, but our issues with Mamdani are from the left. These are not the issues that these screwballs have. The issues these screwballs have is what he's promising that's good terrifies them. The peasants might start getting ideas if this guy is actually able to make the buses free. What else is going to be free? It is even this small matter of a New York City mayor, it threatens the system that they sit atop. They sit atop a system that, look, man, you think Bill Ackman doesn't know that he's in the Louis XIV court? And that they're screwing the peasants, and the only way they can keep the peasants from coming to them is with overwhelming and constant propaganda, and by keeping them poor, demoralized, overworked, and unhealthy. They know that. That's why they can't even allow a small thing like this. Mamdani, most leftists will tell you, he's not all that left. He's pretty centrist. But to the extent that he is left, that's the extent that they have an issue with him. But that's not what they're going to tell you.
Yeah, like what if the buses are free and they don't collapse? That means you could have had free busing all along. It means every city could have free busing, right?
Right. That's it. That's
They don't want an example of that. This is why they sanction
socialist countries.
Right.
Are these guys, what, Venezuela's going to invade us?
Right.
Like, what do you care that why is it an issue that they're socialists? Don't even talk to me about fucking human rights and democracy. We're allied with Saudi Arabia. That is the beginning and the end. And Israel. That is the beginning and the end of that conversation. That we're very concerned about people in countries where we're not in line to make a lot of loot. But we'll see that in your segment. All right, so this is an excellent example of how they bullshit you. Right Angle News Network. Breaking. Zoran Mamdani tells Fox News that if he is elected, New Yorkers should expect to give up 52% of their paychecks and taxes to help pay for his radical agenda. Wow, that sounds terrible, man. They're going to make New Yorkers like me pay 52% of their paychecks? Wow, that's crazy.
Individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than, what is the fair share? What's the number?
I've said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair.
And my point is this:
give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
Oh, that's weird. He left that part out. He left that part out that he's talking about people making more than $1 million a year. That's what scumbags these people are. And I've said it again and again, especially since Sodagate, when we saw that these people would take money to go against Bobby, make America healthy. It's like the one good policy there, not that they really acted on it, but that everybody kind of agreed on. They were willing to betray that sight unseen for a few hundred fucking dollars, $1,000 top pay to betray that. So you think these people don't get paid to destroy your life? That's what they're being paid for. They're going to talk to you about the media being the enemy of the people. And I don't really disagree with that. These people are not the enemy of the people. They're not your enemy. Somebody who's going to drop this clip knowing you probably won't watch it, that you'll probably just read that and be completely misled. Nikki Haley, name a socialist that made life more affordable. I'll wait. Well, I'll let me turn that back around on you. Name a neoliberal who made life more affordable. I'll wait. Are you suggesting that New York has not been run according to the precepts of just laissez-faire neoliberal capitalism, at least since 1992?
Yo, you have no idea. I saw this tweet last night, and I didn't do it because I didn't want to deal with the consequences, but I was so tempted. When she says name a socialist who made life more affordable, I was so tempted to write Hitler. Just to see what the
this is not the week for that.
Just to see what the reaction. Yeah, it was bad timing, but just to see what the responses to that would be. Because I know a lot of the MAGA people hate Nikki Haley, so they would like to pile on. So I just, that would be a really funny response, just for curiosity, just to see how people reacted.
I mean, that would be a way to get Daryl Cooper to unblock us. So hey, this is what gets me about these people. This is what gets me when Eric Adams, before he dropped out to be ambassador of Luxembourg or whatever the fuck they're going to give him as a going away prize, where he would say, we can't turn to this. It's going to destroy our city. You people like you destroyed the city. It's destroyed. Giuliani, Bloomberg, Adams, you had a little interregnum with de Blasio there, and he was in the pockets of the real estate industry as well. He was just a little less extreme than the mayors that came before and after. Like Adams was a Republican. He changed his party affiliation because in New York it's very hard to run as a Republican. Obviously not impossible given the history, but it's difficult. So he became a Democrat. He's a Republican. Adams is another Republican mayor. Income inequality in NYC is significant, with the wealthiest 5% of households receiving nearly 25% of total income, more than the bottom 60% combined. This gap is widening as the richest earners see wage gains while low-wage workers face stagnant wages and racial and gender-based wealth gaps persist. Recent data shows that Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx are among the U.S. counties with the highest income inequality. So these people talk like what they believe in is working. That's working for people. Like, people should jump up and say, yeah, no, I don't want prices to go up. Oh, wait, I can't afford oranges anymore. Top versus bottom earnings. The top 20% of New Yorkers earn at least $158,335 annually, while the bottom 20% earn less than $27,448, a ratio of at least 5.77 to 1. I don't know how you survive in New York. And I guess you live with a bunch of other people in a little apartment. Racial wealth gap. The median household net worth for white New Yorkers is nearly 15 times greater than that for black New Yorkers. Structural systemic racism. What's that? It doesn't exist. That's woke. It's woke. Poverty. Over 10% of New Yorkers live in deep poverty with incomes at or below half the federal poverty line. Recent data indicates the income gap between the richest and poorest in the city is the widest it has been since 2006. Well, why would we want to take a flyer on the Muslim socialist? I wonder why people feel like, you know what? Why not? Why not? There's one group that's doing very well, though, and not coincidentally, it seems to be the group that's most vocal about stopping Mamdani from becoming the mayor. Top 3% is killing it, man. Top 3% is killing it. Look at that. Look at that. Their income has gone up almost 35% since 2019. Look at everybody else. Even the upper middle are not coming close to the very, very, very rich are doing very well. Do you think it's a coincidence that those are the people who are funding all of these PACs to try to stop this guy from giving you just free buses? These people are fucking so rich they could never work another day in their life. And they're obsessed with making sure that the peasants have to pay for the bus fare. Yep. That is how disgusting these people are. This is why I always say you are ruled by criminals. That's not an exaggeration. These people shouldn't be on TV. They should be in jail. They should all be in jail. So this is the thing that really made the headlines. He was asked about disarming Hamas. Once again, continuing this trend of asking a guy who's running for the fucking mayor of New York questions about a country that he doesn't live in, has no jurisdiction over, and has very little influence on the outcome of, or none. Really.
Zero, yeah.
Zero.
It's literally outside his
literally
purview.
none.
Affordable for each and every New Yorker.
But, okay, I want to get to that, absolutely. But do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all. And as it pertains to Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there is peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law. And that applies to Hamas, that applies to the Israeli military, applies to anyone you could ask me about.
Okay. One last thought on that. You have said that you would arrest Netanyahu if he came to the United States. You've been very outspoken.
Why don't they ever ask, would you demand that Israel withdraw from its illegal settlements?
Right.
I asked that. They're breaking international law. Hamas is the elected leadership of Gaza. They are not breaking international law by being armed. Israel is in violation of international law with its settlements. So why aren't you asking about that?
Right.
Brianna Wu. Impossible to overstate how fucked our party is if he becomes the public face of it. No, having an overwrought Zionist, self-hating transgender person as the face of the party, that's going to bring in the voters. You're very good for the party. You're actually very good for the party. Bill Ackman. Zoran Mamdani doesn't want to offend his pro-Hamas base. Now, to be clear, Mamdani was not directly responding to this, but he had a pretty good slam on Ackman's attempt to buy this election. Politico wrote, pro-Trump billionaire Bill Ackman gives $1 million to anti-Mamdani effort. This is October 15th, so it's pretty recent. Mamdani responds, the feeling when your 1,000-word tweets aren't working. Got game. So this was a great moment. And this is, hey, man, whether you like him, you don't like him. Like I said, we have criticisms of him really from the left. My impression of him when I met him, when he was much lower in the polls than he is now, and you could get to him pretty easily, was that he was slick. He was slick. He struck me as very political, very much a politician. I think at this point, having watched the way he has run this campaign coming out of nowhere, he is a generational talent, very much like Obama. whether you like Obama, don't like Obama, you're not going to say, yeah, Obama gave shitty speeches. No, he was good at what he was good at. This guy's good, man. He's very good. And this is a great example of that.
I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and you may be watching right now, and I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I am going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
So,
I mean, you know, that's pretty flawless execution.
Well, he comes prepared. That's his skill. You could tell when he sits down for these things, he knows what they're going to ask him. He knows how they're going to try to trip him up, and he's one step ahead because he prepares for it. He knows, okay, when they go here, this is what I'm going to say. That's why he has that grin on his face, because he knows what's coming. Like, you can tell he actually prepares for these things.
He's prepared. He's poised. He's cool as a cucumber. When we saw him at the Tesla rally after I interviewed him, he got chased like 4 blocks by crackhead Barbie.
Yeah.
And he was fine. He took it in stride with a sense of humor. Didn't get rattled. Like he's been doing this for 20 years. So Crystal Ball said he's just unreal good at this, and yes, he is. Now, finally, of course, the Zionist Jews are having a fucking meltdown that in the most Zionist city on the planet outside of Israel, this guy is almost guaranteed to become the mayor. For the Jews that are still on the fence, you are a traitor if you vote for Mamdani. So the Washington Free Beacon ran this very, very, very misleading headline. Mamdani says pro-Israel Democrats aren't welcome in his coalition. Now, it's very funny because he's taking a lot of shit from people in our lane because he's been very open to allowing Zionists into his coalition and been more accommodating to Zionists than a lot of people would like. Case in point, and this is in the Free Press. This is Olivia Reingold, she of the famine genocide denial article from a couple of months back. So certainly no pro-Mamdani bias here. Sabi tweeted this out. Zoran Mamdani says he will have Zionists in his administration. Pro-Palestinian activists supported him because he stood against Zionism. It's a slap in the face to the pro-Palestine movement. A little bit from the article, quoting him. I'm also not looking to create a city hall or a city in my image. I'm going to have people in my administration who are Zionists, whether liberal Zionists or wherever they may be on that spectrum. And some of them, I'll know about their thoughts on Zionism. Many of them I won't, because the questions I'll ask them when I'm looking to hire them will not be questions about Israel and Palestine. They will be for the sanitation commissioner about garbage. Okay, so the exact opposite of whatever the fuck Washington Free Beacon is talking about there is true. And frankly, that's more consistent with the way he has campaigned. From the very beginning, whenever they really pressed him on those kinds of questions, how are Jewish New Yorkers supposed to feel safe? This is going back to when he was in the primary against Cuomo. They did an appearance at a synagogue of all the candidates who were in the race at the time. And Mamdani said, yes, I spoke to a woman who was very traumatized by the word intifada, and I understood. For some reason, he said it a second time like a month ago, and everyone went berserk. But he used exactly that line while he was still in the primary. So he has been signaling, which frankly, in New York City, that has more Jews than anywhere outside of Israel, you would have to. He has been going out of his way to signal, I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. I understand. Like, he has not been willing, as some would want him to turn around and say, no, if you're a Zionist, You're not welcome here, go. I mean, you want Cuomo. That these there are certain electoral realities, and it is a question like, well, how much do you want somebody to be pure versus whether you want them to get elected? Because and that's not always the choice that you face. I talked. We'll drop this clip over the weekend. I talked a little bit with Shama about this when we had dinner in the village after her book launch event. She didn't have to make that choice. The circumstances of her race were such she could run on the economic issue, and that's it, and hammer the establishment and win. That's not always the case. Like, can you run in a city that is this Jewish with so many who see themselves as liberal Zionists? There's no such thing, but they see themselves that way, which means they're willing to say they think this war was a genocide and it was horrible, but Israel has a right to exist, right? So they might vote for Mamdani, but not if he tells them Israel has no right to exist. Now, he has walked up to that line. He said when they asked him, I think it has a right to exist as a place with equal rights, which means what? Not as a Jewish state.
Not in its current form, of course. Right?
Not in its current form. So I have felt, and again, man, when I met him, he struck me as like a politician. But that's part of why he's poised to win. And I think it does create a conundrum. Like, do you support people for harm reduction, even though there are a lot of worrying indications he's going to get swept back into the Democratic Party? I guess I would say in New York City, again, the most Zionist city outside of Israel, Mamdani is the best you could realistically elect. And I don't think that's good enough. But if that's what's on your ballot, what do you do? Like, do you just withhold support? Which at that point, and I think you can make an argument for this, but you have to admit at that point that you just want the system to collapse. Like, you don't want anyone who's going to do harm reduction. You want a Cuomo who's going to make it worse, right? Like, you have to admit that's what you're trying to do if you're going to completely abandon the idea that someone like Mamdani is someone you would vote for. Like, we didn't endorse him. We haven't encouraged donation. We haven't supported him because he's a Democrat. Like, we just don't do that. But I also made it clear from the beginning, I live in New York. Yes, he's on my ballot. Yes, I'm going to vote for him. He crosses a certain threshold of anti-Zionism that and he's running against Netanyahu's lawyer. I mean, at that point, yeah, I'm going to vote for the guy because I'm not looking to burn the city down, because unlike me, most people can't leave. I can leave. I have the privilege that I work online. I can leave. Most people don't have that, man. I got to think about that too.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a question of engagement. It's a question of, do you want to engage and to what extent do you want to engage, right? So if you say you'd vote for Mamdani, but you wouldn't campaign for Mamdani, you're talking about a very limited engagement with the campaign, meaning on election day, you'll go and vote for him because there's a meaningful difference between him and the alternative. And for all of his faults, he's significantly better than the alternative. Now, that dynamic was not so in 2024, Harris versus Trump, because they were both pro-genocide. So if they're both pro-genocide, then there's no meaningful difference between them, right? It's not to say there's no difference between them, but there's no meaningful difference there. If they're both pro-genocide, then they're both past a red line, right?
Right, and that's why neither one of us voted for Harris.
Right, so it's a question of, whether you engage and to what extent you engage. And, in a place like New York City, there are limitations that are the price of engagement. In other words, if you're running for the mayor of New York City, there's only so far you could take things. And past that point, you're no longer viable. So the price of engagement is you have to limit yourself, right? And that's a calculation that people make in politics all the time, whether they want to or not. When Shama was running in the city council, she had views, because I remember we interviewed her campaign manager, about some of the, I won't even say more extreme, but some of the more sort of doctrinaire, Marxist elements of her platform, such as, seizing the townhouses.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, so she believes that. She's honest about what she believes, but she wouldn't center that in a campaign. Why? Because it would make her less viable, right? So there's always always calculations that you have to make. You always have to tweak the dial. Like, okay, I can go as far as I can without losing my ability to make an impact.
That's
right.
it.
And that's kind of where Mamdani has gone. And for people who are saying, that he's selling out or he's abandoning his principles, I mean, that does not surprise me at all. Those are just the limitations of engagement. And if that's too much for you and you'd rather not engage, then that's fine. That's fine. Like, that's a legitimate opinion to have.
Sure.
And there was a time where I might agree with you. I think one of the things we've noticed, though, as this second Trump term has taken place, and you see what the philosophy of the oligarchs are versus the capitalists, and this is what Hedges talks about. Not the oligarchs and the capitalists, the oligarchs and the corporatists. The corporatists want stability so that they can network, whereas the oligarchs want instability and chaos so they can just directly exploit the consumers, right? And so the oligarchs thrive on instability. The oligarchs are helped by collapse. So the oligarchs are aided by accelerationism, and that's a kind of a realization I've come to in these last 9 months, because I was once of the opinion that really there's nothing worth salvaging about American society, and so just let it all go. But the more you see what the techno-feudalists are all about,
who's going to pick up
the more you realize that no, the only thing standing between us and feudalism is the bonds that we create between each other, which is called society.
Right.
If and when that collapses, the feudal lords are just waiting to come in and eat us alive. And so, that has been a change in perspective on my part. I'm willing to admit that. And for that reason, I would, if I lived in New York, vote for Mamdani. Now, do I want to be on the hook for everything he says? No, that's why I'm not out campaigning for him.
Right.
That's why I'm not waving a fuck. That's why I don't have one of his signs behind me on the wall, because no, I don't want to be accountable for all of his bullshit. You're going to have 90% disappointment with Mamdani, right? I mean, that's what it's going to be. And that's what politics is. Politics is a game of failure. It's just like baseball. The best hitters fail 70% of the time. The best politicians are going to fail 80% of the time, 90% of the time, right? You're lucky. A great politician, they're lucky if they get one or two key things through, right? But the question is it worth engaging on that level? And that's a different decision for everybody, and people can feel how they want about it. It's fine. Like, I don't hold it against people.
If this were 5 years, 5 years ago, I absolutely would have been outdoor knocking for Mamdani.
Right.
Didn't even consider it.
Yeah, exactly.
Please clap.